Hi, thanks for tuning into the PodPilots Network. This is your host, Doug Merlis. We're transitioning from the point of sale data minute, but I am using some of the content to help kick off our broadcast here at the PodPilots Network. You're about to watch Tom Reali from Walmart Data Ventures talk about Walmart Luminate, now Scintilla, and how brands can best utilize it for their business. Hope you enjoy it. Everybody, it's Doug from the Point of Sale Data Minute here with season 4 of our Point of Sale Data Minute podcast and LinkedIn Live series. It is episode 1, and I'm excited to kick off this year's podcast series with Tom Reali, Senior Director of Account Management, General Merchandise at Walmart Data Ventures. Welcome, Tom.
Nice.
Everyone gets a good cheer on the way in. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you carving some time out in our schedule.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate you having me.
Great. Well, we are here today. We're going to talk a little bit about Walmart Luminate. We're going to dig into some of the details. I talk to suppliers, as you know, every week across North America. Luminate is on the tip of their tongue. So I want to hear a little bit more about that over the next 15, 20 minutes. I think that'll be a fun conversation that we'll be able to pique a lot of interest in from our listeners. And let's start, though, with why don't you tell me a little bit about your background, how you landed at Walmart Data Ventures, and what you've been up to the last couple of years.
Excellent. Yeah, Tom Reali here. So, before I started at the Data Ventures company with Walmart, I spent the previous about 18 years in the retail industry, pretty much all in general merchandise, health and beauty, and private brands as a merchant from the starting point up to leading a team within the general merchandise space. So I come from a merchant background in my mind. I think like a merchant. I like to tell the people I work with and the suppliers and I just really enjoyed that pace, right? I enjoyed the opportunities of buying and selling it and making sure the customer knew, what they were getting was good quality product, et cetera. So that's kind of how I've been doing my job the last, I said like 15, 16 years. So, and before that, I spent 5 years in data. So I came into the data world out of college, crunching numbers, trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do in my life. And I quickly jumped over to retail and kind of found my groove a little bit. And that kind of led me here, right? That led me to the Data Ventures company. In December of 21, I had a great opportunity to meet with 3 amazing folks, Nicole Reiner, Josh Alper, and Mark Hardy. And it was like, hey, this makes sense, right? Timing was right. It kind of worked out well. Taking a different lens, a different approach to the job was not just the merchant side of it, but really how you got to this point through data was a whole new eye opening for me in my experience. So these past 2 years plus have been phenomenal, right? In terms of working with the company, working with people across all the different platforms that we have, and seeing, for me, it was like, when I'm emerging in that world of retail, it's like, hey, you get the data, someone's handing it to you. You don't know the work that goes on behind the scenes. And I'm much more empathetic when I ask for something of, hey, how come I just can't get this? Because there's a lot of work that goes into it. So these past 2 years of listening and learning through data, through a bunch of people that kind of run our ships, right, through the customer side of it, through the store side of it, has just given me a new perspective into, hey, this is pretty fascinating, right? We're on the cutting edge of the ground floor of what data looks like and what it's going to look like in the future at Walmart. And I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Look, I think you landed in a great spot. I met some of your colleagues. Everyone has been fantastic and is excited about the Luminate program and not just Luminate, but everything that's going on at Walmart Data Ventures. So again, thanks for your time today. That's a great merge of your multiple kind of knowledge sets into one. So I think you've landed in an awesome spot.
Appreciate it.
Let's talk just high level overview of Luminate. What's your kind of elevator pitch? What do you say? What do you say to people when you first meet them?
How long's a ride, Doug? How many floors I got? 2 or 10? It's 2 different conversations. But listen, the Walmart Luminate platform, when you look at it, we like to say it's three legs of a stool, a 3-headed monster, however you want to play it. But we deal with a customer level lens at the middle and the center of the entire conversation, right? So we have shopper behavior piece, we have a customer perception, which talks directly to the consumer through survey, which is one of my favorite areas of business, because in GM, you always want to know why you chose to purchase a general merchandise product. And then we have our channel performance model, which is really the operational plus data legs, which most people are hearing about because of the conversations that are going on inside the walls of Walmart. But we look at this platform that says, hey, we want to focus on the customer, right? A lot of retailers out there in the U.S. have done this for a long time, especially in the grocery space. It was kind of our turn. to really look at a lens through the customer's eyes. Hey, what is it that we're buying? Why are we buying it? How do we become more efficient? And we're looking for supplier partners to really drive that conversation through data to land on the merchant's desk who also has access to that data and just have a healthy conversation about category growth, efficiencies in operations, efficiencies on the supplier side as well, and just try to improve the business going forward.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a whole new level of access to some really critical data sets, right? That can
Absolutely.
unlock it can unlock a lot of potential for the general merchandise supplier. I mean, there's just so much there. What do you think is next for them? What you alluded to some of the key things that you like in there. What else would you go down that
Well,
way?
if I look at it from the GM, so I handle general merchandise and fashion side of it, apparel side of it. This opens up data, right? So if I use some of my experience, getting data was, hey, you received it, right? It was big level data, it was conversation points, but it wasn't really down to the customer level, right? So if you're on this platform where you have access to all three models, it's going to bring new levels of data that you never had access to, right? Ever inside of Walmart. I mean, when I started, I was like, I can't believe you're not doing this because I'm like, this is this is what we should be doing. If you become on this platform, right, and you start the discussion with the merchant, right, you could just start to pinpoint store opportunities from a customer's lens. You can look at conversion opportunities at the customer lens. If you feel you're good at 10%, what does 12% look like? And then where does 12% get me, right? Which stores, which regions, which markets? And then if I have issues with inventory, how do I start to look at the conversation about, hey, listen, I need to expand my digital footprint. What does that look like? Where do I find it? Where are the opportunities by store? Having that much data at your fingertips is overwhelming, right? We all know it. If you've been in data for any longer than 10 minutes, you know that there's a lot of data at you. But if you have a great group of people that are listening and supporting, which is what we do in account management, to really drive that conversation forward, there is so much that's going to support any size suppliers discussion with the Walmart merchants. And that's just, from what I've been seeing these last couple of years, it's changing the game as we go forward 100%.
Yeah. I think it also lends itself well into the planning side of the business, right? We both talk to suppliers every day in our work, and we know we have several of them that are planning 8 months, 12 months, 14 months out for peak seasons, whether they're seasonal, whether it's holiday sales, Black Friday, et cetera. And just having this inventory access and level of data that's available now should and would allow them to better plan promotions, sell-ins, et cetera. Correct?
Absolutely. When you think about, so putting the GM hat on, we do a great job of planning 18, 12, 12 to 18 months out. Products already on the water, whatever it may be, the next trend coming in from Europe in terms of color. We're here to help with that, right? Based on what's happening today, right? Also the future state of planning and forecasting conversations. But we do a great job. I always tell this, a lot of teams that I worked with, we do a great job of seeing the future, right? Or projecting what we think the future is going to be. But today, the future happened 12 months ago. Well, what's happening? What's the response? What is the customer saying? What is the inventory saying? What does the operations look like? What is actually happening based on the decision I may have forgotten about 12 months ago because it's been a lot of decisions in between. So we're here to help understand what's happening today based on decisions we made a year ago, and also start the plan going forward for the customer. And you hear me say customer 100 times because it truly is about the customer. Like this whole thing was put together, right? The powerful minds behind the scenes, which in my mind, when I just sit and listen to someone, I'm like, well, there's a lot of thinking going on, right? Of how far we could take this entire platform. But the customer is at the center, right? It is the customer. That focus will help the future and it'll help the current. And the post reaction that we do today based on those decisions is going to make the next 12 months even stronger, right? Because we're focusing on a lot of different pieces from the customer to efficiency. So I've seen a lot of different ways that way, but that's where I think GM in the fashion side of it helps so much because it's new data, it's real data, it's my data, it's inside the POS system of Walmart, both brick and mortar as well as digitally. And you can't get anything better than that, right? When you start to look at what's actually happening, there is no more guessing. Let's take the guesswork out of it and go forward with a real plan forward.
Yeah, I think there's a whole shift in the industry to provide some better data back suggestions, and generally what you're able to do then is really improve some collaboration between the parties, between the merchant team and your supplier, because you're both looking at under the same lens, and you both have that same goal now of ultimately how do we best service this customer, product availability, understanding the flows and the ebbs of the market, demand curves, and all those other attributes that go into the decision making.
Absolutely. When we started, right, when I started in December 21, it was, hey, let's start to teach and educate what this platform is all about, because there's a lot of new data points for a lot of people, especially in the general merchandise and fashion side of it. It's like, how much more do I need to know? And do I even really need to know this conversation? And we just started the continued education about in-store POS or in-store customer level data. And it started to change some of the thought, right? What am I thinking about? What am I doing? What does my mod look like? What does my seasonal pad look like? What is the customer really telling me that I should be doing versus just what I'm hearing I think I should be doing? And that is starting to really change that collaboration, right? We like to say, within the walls of Walmart, we're using the platform. The suppliers who are engaged in the platform are using it, and those conversations that are happening today, we take that step back and listen, and we know the data is being put to good use, which is fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I think the term commonly used, one version of the truth, right? We have both parties looking at the same data sets, which can always help collaboration, and the end result can be a lot better.
100%. Well, yeah, that is the one thing we hear over and over again, and I think that education process that has been done and it's continued to go. It's something that we will never walk away from, because we know there's a future state on top of what we're doing that's going to be so exciting to see. That if you're not engaged now, stay tuned, because you're gonna be like, oof, there's some pretty fascinating stuff coming our way.
Awesome. And just back to your earlier point, I always say, look, the the collators of the data, the people producing the data, never get enough credit, because the consumers of data think it takes like 2 seconds and 3 people, right? It's
Yeah,
just
no, I'll tell you, it's there's people, I'll call out. So a lady named Miriam Tiran and Linda Lamalino in the channel performance side and shop behavior side, respectively. Them and their teams, right? And there's hundreds of them behind the data platform that don't get enough credit for the work that they do to make our life, easier. Ideally, right? We always like to say easily. Sometimes we joke, maybe not always as easy as we want, but there's a lot of work that's going into it. It is not easy to change management, this entire process, when it comes to data, right? Disrupting the data business, focusing on what the customer wants through the lens of the supplier or the merchant. There's a lot that goes into it, right? So, like I said, I'm empathetic for what they go through. I talk to them a lot. I know our teams do. They definitely don't get enough credit. They could be on this call right now answering these questions probably even better than I can, because they see it from the data in. But yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into that side of it.
It's going great. Like, I want to just ask this question. I want to make sure we get it in the time we've allotted today. It's the number one question I get. So I talked to several Walmart suppliers. I call them the long end of the tail. So they're the 20% of your supplier, or 80% of your suppliers that might be giving you, 20% of your business. They got 10 SKUs, they got 8, they got 6, they have a dozen, whatever the number is. And they're excited, I think, to get Luminate and get and dig into it, as is the team that I work with. And the number one question is, how do they fully leverage, or how do they best prepare to fully leverage the tool they're going to get?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, in our world, we have both, right? We have the expectations. We have suppliers. We have large. We have middle. We have small suppliers. We have new suppliers that may not even have opportunities for business yet. It comes down to a few things, right? We have account management team, which is what I manage in general merchandise, and the other folks on food and consumables. Our job is, any supplier who comes on board, is that they're engaging, right? We have an open, honest dialogue. You hold me accountable for my job. I'm going to hold you accountable for you being engaged with the platform. You're not going to always get wins, but you need to be engaged. If you're not engaged, if you're not trying to learn it, right, you need to learn it, right? Because it's not as easy just to open up and all my information's there. So we challenge all suppliers, right? It doesn't matter, to get engaged with the platform, right? Because this data for the long tail, we like to say, is so valuable. Because if their business is within the walls of Walmart small, other retailers could be huge, but they're going to see data they never had access to before. And I think when you start to, as a supplier, start to visualize that, and we've had some conversations with suppliers in that space already, some of the things we hear back is, this gives me so much information that I could change the way I go to business, right? If I didn't have this, I would not have been able to make that decision. I would not be able to get into this conversations about, whether it's a line review, whatever it may be. It opens up a dialogue for suppliers that may be relying on elsewhere to get data, but now you can rely on inside the actual POS world through the customer lens to get the information that you need, right? And that changes the conversation. And then we challenge, right? If you have a team, you have one, if you're using third party, whatever it may be that you're doing, we work with you to make sure that you're driving efficiencies through the platform and using it. Without it, yeah, you're not going to say yes the first time. You're definitely not going to say yes the second time.
Right. Well, it certainly puts Walmart at the forefront of data analytics to suppliers. There's nobody else out there that I'm aware of anyway. Work with probably 50 different supplier sets of data every week that has the added value that and data sets that are available in the Luminate product.
Yeah, I'll tell you and I've seen it from the old loyalty card world, right? The grocery space. Loyalty card world is great, right? You get the customer, you get the card, you get discounts. It's a beautiful thing. It works. It works. But when you start to overlay not just one piece of data, but then a second, which is in channel, and then a third, which is customer perception, that asking the question directly to the customers within the walls of Walmart. And then we have a whole bunch of other things that we're thinking about, right? How deep can we go? How far back can we start? There's an obsession, and I don't think I had it when I started. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. But now it's like what my brain is starting to just overdrive thinking of what else can we get to? What other data points are touching the wall of Walmart, or touching the parking lot of Walmart? What is happening, right? How many customers are driving past? What can we really get after to get more data in the hands of our suppliers? Because that is really what's going to change not just today, but the future, right? And I think that evolution is happening already. And it definitely separates yourself from other areas of the business, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think both of us are in this tech space, and no one just sits at the side and goes, "Here's my product." It's one of the few businesses where you continually do evolve and iterate and bring new features and data sets and bring the importance of data analysis, but also the ease of getting insights out of that data. Continue to develop that so that you're driving value for the supplier and also for the retailer at the same time.
Yeah, I'll tell you, speed, right? Speed of data is so important because it's Monday today. What happened over this weekend? If I don't know until Thursday, did it matter? I mean, it's nice to talk about it, right? It's nice, hey, I had a great Sunday, or last week was pretty cool. But having information at your fingertips in pretty much near real time in some aspects, with D-1 day, that's going to be able to revolutionize an inventory conversation, right? It's going to tell you, hey, these 50 stores had the highest potential issues with first time pick rate. How are my digital sales by store, by day, by item? I mean, the conversations start to change, right? And then the decisions start to change, and then the reactions start to move forward, right? And how do you keep everyone honest in the approach when everyone, and I'm talking about everyone, merchants, operations, suppliers, our team, everyone out there is starting to look at the data the same way. It's faster and faster because now you're getting really confident, really comfortable with what's going on. And now decisions start to happen, right? And not every decision, but decisions start to happen. What can I do with it is always a question we hear. How fast can I react is another question we always hear. And we're saying as fast as you can find the data rather than wait to be told, because by the time you're told, you're probably in a penalty box, right? Probably. You're probably, if you're told something, that means you're probably not as performing where you want to be, or you have an issue somewhere. But if you could bring that conversation to the merchant, within a day or within a couple hours, it's pretty interesting.
I always say you want to be on your front foot. If you're a supplier, you want to be on the front foot. If your merchant calls at 11 o'clock Monday morning, you want to know exactly what they want to talk about. And it's sitting in the data. They know, like, they want to get more inventory in there faster. They want to know what's going on with the promotion. They want to know how you thought it performed. Did it meet expectations? And you need to be prepared for those conversations, because when you are, conversation turns to gold.
Absolutely. There's a saying, I coach sports with my kids. It's don't play on your heels, just play on your toes. All right. If you're playing on your front toes going forward, it's a better conversation than absorbing the impact. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I'm going to steal that.
All right. Only cost you 5%. That's all.
No problem. Hey, we're almost at the end here. I thought we'd wrap it up though, but before we do, final thoughts. Where do we go from here?
Listen, if I look at why I think I'm here in this space and why I'm probably more excited in the past year and a half than I was when I first started, because I was learning, it's get on the wagon, right? It's thinking about the data. Just think customer first in everything that you do. What can I ask the consumer, right? What do I want to know? Why did they buy it? Why they didn't buy it? Let's have an open, honest dialogue through data, focusing on the customer, all right? and then focusing on the inventory, right? The path to purchase starts with the product being made wherever it's being made, and then it hits the store, and then a customer picks it up, right? We all know that. That's how it goes. But now understanding how fast it got there, understanding, do I have an out of stock? How do I understand what the consumer's thinking? And then what else did they buy when they bought it? Did they turn left? The old saying in the grocery industry, did they turn left to shop at grocery, right? The old days where GM was here and food was here. How'd they turn left? Um, that's an important conversation in the space that we're in. And what do you think of the Walmart store as a customer? Do you think of them based on what they're carrying? We're building those relationships now, understanding that consumer better than ever. It's exciting, and I think we're just I think we just touched down the first plane, and we're going to lift off again with some new stuff coming our way as well. So we're excited.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And we'll have another whole episode about how you lay out a store and customer perceptions and walkability and all that great stuff. I spent some time in my career in that space. I love it. So
Absolutely. I'll tell you, for the GM world and that space, and it's big everywhere, right? I don't want to diminish food and consumables. I never want to do that. But when you start to have the conversation in the area of a nice to buy, right? Not a need, a want, you want to know why, right? And that starts to change the whole dialogue. So I'll be happy to have a conversation with you further on that as well. That'd be fun.
awesome. Well, Tom, thanks again for your time today. I appreciate you fitting us into your schedule and joining me for the first episode of season 4 of the Point of Sale Data Minute. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, everyone, that brings us to the conclusion of the first episode again of the Point of Sale Data Minute this year. Thanks for joining me, Tom Reali from Walmart Data Ventures. I hope you enjoyed this episode. The next episode will be coming from the International Houseware Show. Stay tuned for that. And again, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon.